But how's everyone doing today? I don't know about you, but I'm having a beautiful morning. And it's been a long time since one of these lives happened. So I just wanted to check in, say hello. I missed you all. And I hope you're having a beautiful, beautiful morning. I know I am. All right. I have sent out the live invites to everybody in the Spirit Science family. And well, I sent it out via the Slack. So we'll see who all shows up. There's no telling. It may just be me holding space for everyone, and that's okay. Because if it is, I just want you to know whether you watch this or not. I love you. I'm sorry I don't check in more often. I forgive you for not checking in. Thank you for just existing and being you, because that's the most important thing that you could do in this world. I appreciate you. Oh, we have a viewer. I should probably turn on the chat thing so I can see if people chat. There we go. So, other than that, what have I been up to? I've been making a cartoon. I think I can switch it over to it. There it is. All right, and let's make it even cooler by doing this. And there we go. Put my hands behind my back. Maybe I'll wave at you first, and just put my hands behind my back and let that be that, right? Uh, Other than that, this is one of the biggest projects and things that have been eating up a lot of my time is teaching myself live character animation like this and what I can do with it, and then working on a. It's not a cartoon and it's not live action. It's both. So I don't know what you call that, but the basic concept is, I'm going to use this character, but I'm also going to be using me talking to the camera and let the interplay between those be a functional storytelling element to the series. Because I want to do it in installments, like a TV show. Like I'm thinking somewhere between 5 and 8 minute long episodes would be great, but we'll see how it develops from there. I'm working on this first little bit, and we'll see how that turns out to be, how long it turns out to be, and we'll go from there. But I am just goofing off right now to see if anybody else is going to join in the call. Oh, I see Brandon is online. That bodes well that Brandon will be joining me soon. Maybe. Who knows? That's okay though. Like I said, we're just hanging out in my imagination, watching that pretty little flower. You can't tell. I can't tell if it's blooming or closing in on itself because I think it's doing both at the same time. But it's okay. Head's floating off my shoulder there. Ooh, there we go. Much better. So, what are you up to, everybody? Are you having a good day? I know I am. I got two viewers. Nobody's on the chat. Or you're probably on mobile phones. That's a limitation, YouTube. You could work on that, because getting to the chat on mobile while watching live is quite difficult. And it would seem pretty simple, like just put an icon for the chat, like if somebody touches the video, just right up there in the top right where the other 3 or 4 icons are, just right there. Super simple suggestion. I mean, maybe it's more difficult than it sounds, but I think you could probably do it. Could be wrong. But all that aside, hello to the new viewer. I don't know if I said hello yet, but just want to say hi. Just hanging out. Like I said, I'm holding space for at least an hour. Just in case anybody has the time and can stop in and say hello. So I can tell them to their virtual face, to my cartoon face, I guess I could switch back. But that I love them and I miss all of my spirit science family friends and our twice a month hangouts. It was nice to get to check in with everybody, and I know that it's been a wild ride this year for me since the hangouts ended, and I just thought I'd see how everybody else was doing. Oh, here's Brandon. Are you there? Brandon. Oh, I hear sound. Almost. There you are.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Gosh.
Yeah, it's really scratchy. There, are you there? Can you hear me?
I'm see if I can fix it. It's pretty. Yeah, perfect. I get Josh, you hear me, brother?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Brother, how's everything?
Fantastic. How are you?
It's pretty laggy.
Are you okay?
Yeah, just. Is there? Can you hear me?
It does seem to be cutting out a little bit.
Okay, I'll just be still. I just one frame. Okay, here we are. What's up, brother?
Oh, just hanging
You're just
out.
hanging out?
Yep, just goofing off. Thought I would hold some space for everybody in the Spirit Science Tribe and see if anybody can make it.
We're just holding some space now. Holding good intent. Always, brother. So, what we show audience us watching us, brother Josh?
Oh, say that again for me.
What message?
What message? Oh, I don't know. How about just a message of love? I mean, isn't
What
that what we
message
all need?
to everyone?
You said what message?
What? Yeah. And what shout to our audience right here? Can you
Well,
hear me
like I
perfectly?
said, yeah, I think that the message is love. It's that we live in this, you know, modern digital age where we're all so busy, right? And, we spend a lot of our lives holding smartphones or using laptops or computers. I mean, maybe not everyone does that most of their life, but most everyone has a smartphone at this point. And I just think that with so many opportunities for connection, yet we have this world full of people who feel disconnected and alone, that it seems uncanny to me. And so I thought, when we were doing those check-ins, twice a month, and really just holding space for each other, that it was a really positive framework for my own life. And while I don't think that I could ever do justice to what Jordan and Aaron set up, what I would like to do is carry on the tradition of checking in, holding space, and meditating for a little peace, love, and happiness filling our world. Could you hear me?
Yeah, I told there. Oh, well, all of that was beautiful, Josh. What you said, but like it just I sort of missed a little bit of that of what you said because the audio was a little bit cutty there.
That's okay. So basically, the idea was just that the precedent that Jordan and Aaron set for running those spirit side chats twice a month had really generated a positive framework for my own life. Do what?
Oh, no. Oh, this is so laggy. Oh, like, continue to fix this up.
Well, it kind of goes hand in hand with what I'm saying. The lagging issues and things like that. It can be very frustrating, because you're trying to communicate with somebody and really open up a connection, and it feels like the device is against you or whatever, like things like that, and it can be very frustrating. But we don't really have to get by it, right? We could just laugh because computers are computers. And the internet's the internet. It's not like we've never used the internet before. We know connections lag, and some stuff gets lost in translation, and that's okay. But it's not really the point. The point is really just the energy that we're creating by holding space.
It's sort of like frame. I can't seem to. Was it in that space? But I would just like to say my own and I cannot express the incomprehensible word, and I just hope everyone else can just join us here right now as well. With everyone else. This chat is just to see if we can reignite that fire from there.
I think that's the trick right there, isn't it? Is when we frame it as to see if we can restart the fire or reignite the fire, we're implying that it doesn't still burn inside our hearts. And I think the only reason that we would feel any kind of a resonance with it is if the spark did burn inside our hearts live.
Exactly.
Can you leave, please?
This project that
The big thing is that we're going to have disruptions, like it's part of the deal when you're trying to do a thing like this. Like I've got dogs, I've got other people in the house, and we're communicating over the internet, like across an ocean and, half a continent as well. So the fact that we can do this in and of itself is an amazing thing. Uh, it's just we got to remember to not get frustrated in life. That's what slows us down. That's what gets us trapped in this idea of, whatever it is that's generating stress in our lives, which will keep us cycling around the same problems, right? But if we just let things roll and don't get tripped up on whatever is, stressing us,
that is true.
saying something like that is anxiety inducing to a lot of people because they're like, how do you just not get frustrated? And I think it's not that you become some kind of a robot who can just turn off being frustrated, right? I don't think that's the case. But I think what happens is you can get frustrated really fast, and then you can go, hey, I'm frustrated, and laugh at it, and it can be gone just as fast, right? And I think that's the big, thing to aim for, really, is not that we don't get tripped up by, something annoying us, right? Because I think it's important to acknowledge that that's annoying and I don't like that, right? Because that gives you an idea of what you do and don't like, and well, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think when we get so hyper focused on something we don't like, it becomes hard to see anything but that. So if we can notice when we're starting to go down that tunnel vision and laugh at ourselves, just remember that it's okay to go, whoa, I don't really care that much. It's not that big a deal. You know, why am I getting so wrapped up in it? And just laugh at it.
Josh.
You know? Yes, sir. You lost your video.
So, I am just trying to see if
The audio is a little better. Is it working any better for you?
there we go. Okay. True. From the things that I managed to hear you from the line, something sincerely from your heart, in your life experience.
You know, I think we all have amazing life experiences. And it's that we spend most of our life unconscious of them. You know, when I tell people, bits of my story or things that have happened to me, I often hear things like, you should write a story or you should write your autobiography or whatever, right? And to me, it's just my life, right? And one of the things that I love to do is just sit and talk to people and listen to the story of their life, because everyone has a story, and there are elements to every story that are some way related to you. And so the more you stop and you listen to the story of others, the more and more you see how their story and yours are the same. And it becomes a lot harder to just ignore their story at that point. You kind of, life becomes a lot more than just one thread, you know? It's a whole patchwork quilt made of awesome and amazing stories, full of pain and loss and great triumph and wonder. So I think that, you know, if I can do anything with this channel and with the idea of bringing conscious conversations back on regularly, is I really want to inspire that idea of just getting people together to share their stories, you know, like yourself, Brandon. You're gone. We lost Brandon, but you know, speaking of amazing stories, that is that is definitely one. So either way, we are at 23 minutes past the hour, 37 minutes to go, and we have three viewers and two viewers. That's okay. Either way, doesn't matter. Just here to say I love you, send out a little love and peace vibes to everyone out there. Uh, any viewers want to check in on what the video and audio quality is like from your end? That would be awesome. Oh, Brandon's back. You there, Brandon? I don't know that I don't know that your connection's going to let you come through. But either way, I really like how a good conversation can get me to thinking and get me inspired. It's like my little rant just a minute ago about the nervousness and the frustration was, you know, partially fueled by my own. You know, my mom showed up for a surprise visit, and I didn't realize she was here, and she walked into my office. And so here I was trying to have this conversation with Brendan, and she'd walked in, and I was like, "Can you leave?" You know, and it was more of just, you know, here is this person whose opinion I greatly respect, who's watching me do the thing I'm doing, and it just makes you nervous, right? Hey, Brandon, it's great to have you back. Sorry, I was just telling a story to the camera, and I wanted to finish it. Uh, Thank you for your patience.
Oh, no, don't apologize, brother. Yeah. Oh, there's nothing to apologize for. um, well, I was just trying to fix the connection here, and everything is going beautifully, Josh. So, what is the jumping on this chat? I feel like something has reignited because for some reason, as I jumped onto this call, I felt a wave of like energy come upon me. So I think that something has been reignited, and I think something is going to come before us.
I think that the most important thing to remember is to stop waiting for things to come before us and stop looking for things like that. Because when we're grasping for the future, we're grasping at air that it's not there yet, right? But when we just are right now as we can be, and when we can feel the bliss and the love in that, and just being right now, then we know that by the time we get to then, that right now will be just as blissful as this right now because we're already fully present in the bliss of right now. So there's no need to grasp or reach for that right now because we've already got this one, right? And I think that's the key in life is just remembering that you're already right now. And it's not about right then. It's about right now because that's all there is, right? And
But
I went into a little bit of a rant earlier about the idea of reigniting. I mean, Brandon, the fire in my heart has not gone out. I got so much love for you. Seriously. Which reminds me, I want to talk about what we're working on, but I'll come back to that in just a minute. But I don't like reignite. It's such a, I don't know, like maybe it's just the wordsmith in me that just really wants a more fiery word. How do
yeah,
you get
get it
more
out.
fiery? How do you get more fiery than reignite? But uh, but at the same time, it implies to me that the spark had gone down, you know. And to me, I think that it's raging hotter now than it ever has. All right, this burning, unquenchable thirst for sharing love and connection, mindfulness, and just some good old fashioned hippie vibes with the world, because everyone's so frustrated, everyone's so stressed out, and everyone like they get really down on themselves for having a negative emotion, like as though negative means bad and you're not supposed to have those. That's not how it works. You're human, right? You're gonna get frustrated. And the trick is just not to get trapped in that frustration. You're gonna get angry. Just don't get trapped in that anger. The biochemicals that are released from your brain when you feel an emotion and that sweep throughout your bloodstream, they got a 90-second half-life in your bloodstream, which means if you're feeling something for longer than 90 seconds, you're re-triggering that feeling. And you're doing that with what you're choosing to focus on, what thoughts you're thinking, right? So if we change the framework to where we're already in the most blissful state we can be in right now, no matter what happens, then it's going to be really hard to throw us off. But if we do get thrown off, that's okay because we know how to get right back to here.
That is something true. You, my friend, are a connoisseur of words, my friend, brother Josh. Gosh, exactly what you said. It is merely like you experience your darkness inside of you, then you see the horrors from outside, and then like The first I'm gonna quote Josh Friedrich Nietzsche once said, and then once you've experienced all of that, you enter into a state of rausch, and how many people call it, it's enlightenment, it is creativity, it is that first of all, it is that inhalation of looking at everything with beauty and love and with iridescent light, and then you create poetry from it, and that is what poetry is. It is the artist's it is the artist coming out from the darkness and then after creating something out from the state of rausch, the state of enlightenment, in order yet to burn that fiery rage against all odds into the world, so that we can therefore overcome ourselves, because man is something to overcome, to become the Superman. Because I respect those who create the housework and the framework for the Overman, for the Ubermensch, for the Superman.
Yeah, me and Nietzsche, we could go round and round. Because the idea of an Ubermensch, goes directly counter to his book, The Master and Slave Morality, right? Because in this one, he's telling you, you got to not be the slave, right? But when you create an idealized person, someone who's better than, that's because that's what the Ubermensch says, right?
Yeah.
You're creating a hierarchy. You create a hierarchy then, where there's this preferred version and what you actually are, and you need to get to there, right? So that puts you on the slave pedestal, on the lower rung of the hierarchy, reaching for the top. And so it's like conflict at that point. It's like any fight. It requires both sides to participate in order for it to function. And so what if you right now are already the Ubermensch in a sense, in the sense that you don't need to become better than, you don't need to grow. You're already perfect as you are right now.
Oh yes, it is Chelsea, the spark of awareness that is that realization. I think that's what Nietzsche is trying to give off. It is to overcome those herd mortality feelings of just anguish, disgust, sadness, and just to awaken past us. I think that was his motive there.
I'm suggesting that by labeling all of that stuff as something you'd want to get rid of, all right, you're number one, doing the same thing as anybody who tries to say they've gotten rid of their ego. Oh. You're telling a make-believe story because you can't, all right? You're human and you're going to have feelings, all right? That doesn't mean that they're going to control you, but you're going to have them, okay? And to need to get rid of them is to deny part of your humanity. All right. Is to deny who you are and the perfection of who you are in this moment. And, that's with your pain and all of that wrapped in one. You don't need to get rid of it. It's there and it's a part of you, right? And that might be a terrible weight if you haven't figured out how to not let that feeling control you. But it doesn't make it something you need to get rid of. Just something you need to learn to accept right now as you are.
Oh no, yes, no. What Nietzsche proposes on that account is that he called a concept called amor fati, which is exactly how you said, Josh. It is to accept one's past and to embrace it with love, their mistakes and past mistakes, and that's made up the concept of the Superman. So once you loved all that mistakes, you will awaken and become more better. That is what amor fati is. Like is to love the negativity that you've gone through.
To me, that's the idea of needing to become better is impossible. All right, because you can't be more than what you are, because you're the tool that's doing the improving, and so you would need to be better to make yourself better. But you're already what you are, so you can't do that, right? So there is no better. All that does is create this boundary, this divide line of us versus them in your head. You create conflict. by needing to be better. And that conflict is with yourself. It's a form of self-hate.
Yes. Yes, completely understandable, yeah. That is true.
It's just, I
Oh,
mean,
yes.
whatever works for anybody. But me and Nietzsche, I have a lot of things that I really am appreciative that he's written because they really provoked a lot of deep thought in me. But I think that inherently they carry the same flaw most of Western philosophy does, and a lot of Eastern philosophy even, is this idea that you're not already where you need to be.
Yeah. So, we're already the Uberman, so with that thought, we can progress Nietzsche's thinking, Josh, with how you said that. So then, because with philosophy, it's all about the progression of thinking. So we can progress Nietzsche's way of thinking in that book. So in essence, Josh, we have progressed his way of thinking that he was. Because even many people you would never agree with him because he was people may call him as well a feminist and an atheist as well. But he promoted was the self actualization of quotations here becoming better. So it's exactly what you said, Josh.
Well, and I understand the desire for becoming better, right? You look around the world and you see suffering because it's it happens. And if you're aware, then the more aware you become, the more you care about your surroundings and
Mm.
those within it. And the more and more aware you become, you look around, you see more and more suffering, and you think, well, how could I ease that suffering? But that's when you realize that you're beginning that slow descent into hell right there. Because you're assuming that you know better than their situation.
Oh
You're
yes,
assuming you can improve their situation. And
yes,
if we're all souls that are one soul, and we co create this reality together as one conscious being who expresses itself through different forms, then who am I to say you picked the wrong role? Let me tell you how to fix it.
yes. I see where you're going there. That's very beautifully illustrated there. What do you think of this, brother? That's wait, if I remember from the quote correctly, it says that he said that we humans we think we know each other, but we don't. We and here's another one, and that he proceeded from that to say that if you go inside there, when you find your treasure, that is where you find your heart. So that's everything what we're talking about here, Josh. It's just about going inside, you know, going
Mhm.
inside yourself, finding your heart, finding your treasure.
I think that's the biggest thing that's helped me is that ability to just stop and listen to my heart. And people say, well, what do you mean by that? What does stop and listen to your heart actually mean? What are you listening for? And I use the word listen uh, colloquially. Yeah, that's a tongue twister. You know, more of an alliteration than the actual meaning of the word. Because to listen would be using my ears. And while I can to hear my heartbeat to an extent, right? It's not really what I mean by that. What I really mean when I say listen to my heart, I just, I have feelings and I feel them generally about this area. And sometimes they sink down to the pit of my stomach and sometimes they rise up into my throat. But generally, I have feelings and I feel them here in my body, right? And so I listen to that and I go, well, if I say this thing, does my chest tighten up? Does my chest expand? Does my breathing get tighter? Does it get easier? Are my breaths shallow or do they become very full? How does this feel when I think this? How does this feel when I say this? And if it doesn't feel good, I just don't do that anymore. And that's kind of the thing, is being able to feel that, being able to listen into that. It's not something that I think a lot of people were taught as a kid. Yeah.
Sad to say, that is the truth there. It is because in that here I feel like that it is because we so don't so take what I say with a grain of salt. And this is from what I've learned, what I've experienced, what I have saw, what I've seen, or from my portion of life that I have lived. Because I'm still very young as well.
Yeah, well, so it's your sum total of your experience, so don't diminuate it.
Oh yeah, yes, 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 right. Okay. From what I've learned and seen, it is that we raise the next generation in order to fulfill the needs that we had. So we built the next generation to become dependent upon to become dependent to ourselves, to make the next generation dependent to ourselves, to the old generation, so that therefore the new generation can fulfill the needs of the old generation, and it goes on from there. And then also, and that we don't teach the next generation to become independent of themselves, so that they can become their own flourishing beings, and to have that self-awareness to just simply, you know, learn how to go inside themselves, and just teach them first about compassion, love, and then after go into the left hemisphere, which is the brain and logical way of thinking. So I feel like that's the problem, that we raise the next generation to become codependent instead of independent, and becoming their own beings, and to have that self-awareness to go inside of themselves.
I've been having this philosophical conversation with my mom recently about you really hit on a subject here. Uh, at what point is it no longer a valid excuse for the child to say, I wasn't exposed to this or I wasn't told this?
Mm.
Or when does it become their responsibility to make the change regardless of what they were taught?
When can a child have the right to say that here, I wasn't exposed to this when I was younger?
Right. Or let's make it a simpler one. Well, no, that's way less simple. So let's stick with that. Um, yeah. When is that point where it's not really on your parents anymore? It's on you to have said, well, I see this thing and I need to learn it because, and I asked this because based on what you said, Napoleon Hill published Think and Grow Rich in like 1905 or something. So inside that book is everything we've talked about. All right. And I mean, it applies it to a 1905 mindset. Don't get me wrong. All right. But
Mm.
the secrets are still there. The information, the understanding, the ability to go within yourself, all that is taught in that book, which is over 100 years old. Right. And it's a very widely sold book. So it's not like there aren't copies floating around. Okay. It's still being published today. So if resources like that exist in our environment, and they have for over 100 years now, because that's not the only book, right? When do we say, well, society didn't teach kids to to do this? And when do we say, well, kids don't really care to climb outside the box that we've given them? Is it the kid's fault? Is it society's fault? Or is this whole idea of needing to place a fault somewhere missing the point that we could just create constructive changes now that could proliferate themselves? And I'm more of the latter thinking there, in that all this worrying about, was it the kid's fault? Was it the parents' fault? Is kind of a moot point, right? Because you've already lived those days and you live right now.
Well, that's actually a very good question there. I would say two things. It is, I feel like it should be their choice to do it, but I feel like as well it is that fear. Just from my knowledge, this is not fact. Of course, I'm not undermining myself. How you say it. Um, I feel like it is that point where they have that self actualization, that self awareness about themselves. I feel like it is them not having the courage to take a look at it, to look beyond what they have been taught, and it is because of that fear of what would their family, their parents say, because of that codependency, and them not having that self actualization awareness, saying that I am a separate person on this planet. I am an individual. I can do this, and then after I could search this knowledge, then I can show it to my family, and then after, even if they do not accept it or not, or accept me as a person for this knowledge that I have found, or whoever I am, I will do it. I will do it either way, because that is me, and if that changes me, then so be it. I will just evolve from there. I would just continue on from that, because it is, I am my own being, and I make my own decisions, but I also learn from everybody else at the same time, but with the still intact awareness that I am my own individual person, that I can still receive information from everyone else, but while continuing on to be sentient and to obtain knowledge in the future, and etc., etc., etc.
I think it's kind of where we have to go. I think you're on the right track there, because if we keep getting hung up on, where did this issue come from, then we're clinging to the past just as badly as we're clinging to the future at that point. So
Yes.
we're still making ourselves unavailable for our life right now. And I think that if we don't just start acknowledging that, I can accept whatever anyone has to say, and it doesn't have to define me, like you're saying there, that's kind of the key right there to me. I know I've said a lot of things are the key, but it's a very big key ring.
Look, that is exactly true, and I feel like that is where we can implement this, or Nietzsche's philosophy here of the last man. It's because it's that fear of codependency, that we're gonna lose that connection that we have with everyone else, because of this newfound awareness of ourselves, that we are afraid of being accepted. So we therefore go back into the herd morality, and become the last man of not caring to have self awareness of ourselves, and just to live a mediocre life of a mediocrity, and just living to whatever whimsical event befalls us. And that how Nietzsche says that if everybody falls back to codependency and not thinking for themselves, the world will become a nihilistic world, where man doesn't care enough to look within himself, and to find and to think for himself, and just to listen always to the mindset of the herd, and afraid to becoming ostracized from the herd, and to be shunned and just to be kicked out. And even in the genealogy of morals, he says that how long would it take for a kid, a person, a adult to hang from that tree in order yet to have that self-awareness of himself, and in order to start questioning himself and to going inside of himself and to finding his treasure where his heart is, you know?
The Druids would say it takes about 20 years.
It takes about 20 years. I would say
according
that
according to the Druids and the Shaolin monks, at least. But
20 years.
that's
So,
they say 20 years all day long, every day.
oh, so I would say that, but wouldn't you say that that is limiting our progression? That saying that after 20 years we reach enlightenment. So don't you think that it is more expansive than that?
No, what they mean is that it takes at least 20 years. That's the earliest a human being can achieve all of that growth, because you need at least that long for your being to have experienced enough changes in time in order to really grasp the depth of the concepts that are being taught, at least at those temples and mystery traditions, right?
Ah, yes.
Uh, uh, Now, is that the sum total of what enlightenment is? No, but that's kind of what all enlightenment schools teach you, is that attainment of enlightenment is the beginning of the journey, not the end. You don't know everything once you're enlightened. You have access to all knowledge, because you know how to
Ah,
find it. You go
yes.
within and you can find that information.
That
It doesn't make you an actual comic book superhero. It just makes you a person who knows how to figure out the answers and how to conquer whatever obstacle they find in front of themselves, because they know that they don't have to accept the story as it is. They're the ones that author it, and they can change any element they so choose right then, right now, because that's where you live and that's where the story's occurring.
that is so true, right there. Oh my God! You
It
see
has
her,
been
Josh?
almost an hour.
You see her, Josh? That's just magical there. Like for some reason, as soon as we began doing this again, I just felt a something click in me, and I felt this burst of like energy, and I feel like that now we've entered into a new horizon now, especially because it's about to be the end of this year, and I feel like some more things are going to be happening magical, but all we need to do is just continuing on, never giving up, and to pave our life with our blood, because within our blood contains spirit.
Indeed. All right,
Ah,
so let's follow that with the exciting bit of information that I teased at earlier. We have been working on a script for a episode of your cartoon, and I am super excited about it. I think it's pretty awesome. I am really excited to see how it comes together. I am really hoping that I can pressure Brandon into like a Christmas or New Year's release, but we'll see.
no! Oh my gosh! Ah,
We'll see. We'll see how that works out. That's maybe a lot of work to put on him, but for sure, my first episode of my cartoon will be out by then. I'm hoping to have it done in the next 2 weeks, but you know how life is, so maybe not. But that's the goal. And then you'll get your first sneak peek of the character that I shared over to Brandon for his cartoon. And a little insight into the madness that is my creative mind.
The madness that is Psionic designs.
Yes.
Like just, oof. I'm going to see if I can do that date because I've never actually given myself a due date before when I'm doing all these projects. I never actually given myself that, so I want to see if I can try to do that.
It helps. At least it helped me working with Anthony and Shelley on the Geomagic Modulus coloring book. Like at first, the idea was just an idea, and so like we worked at it, but we didn't work hard at it. You know what I mean? And then I was like, man, I really want to have this done by this date and just have a finished book ready to go. And as soon as I set that, I mean, it was hard. And I almost didn't make it, right? But I did get there. And that feeling of completion when I finally got it done was amazing. And to know that I've had a few people buy copies, um, and somebody suggested getting them sent to like maybe the hospital, like the burn ward for kids like that, and maybe getting them into like some prison recovery programs wouldn't be a bad idea. And so I think I'm going to try that, but who knows where that'll lead. But setting that deadline really helped me get the book actually finished. And
Yeah.
so I know that if I don't set deadlines for myself, then time will slip away from me.
So, I think that here, hmm, to make this even more quicker, then let's let's ask some more people to jump onto this endeavor, and because I think it'd be more quicker if we had more people like working on certain aspects of this secret project of ours. That
I
we
was really
have.
hoping
Yeah.
Anthony would be able to make it so we could try to pressure him into helping us out on live on air, but it seems as though he'll just have to hear this at the end of our hour-long broadcast. But that's okay. Just Anthony, you could totally help us out. That would be awesome. Just saying.
Yeah, brother, you know, just like the three of us, you know, just like doing this. No, because trust me, I feel like we'll be able to do that if we had like at least one more or two more people on this endeavor, and I feel like it'll happen really quickly.
Well, I am just about ready for voice acting. I've got uh, I've got three people lined up and ready to do a couple of the characters, but I'm gonna record those for you and send them over to you and see what you think.
Yeah, and then after I will do the same thing. Then we will come together, and then we will come together, and then after we will decide from there. And after that's when I can work on and dilly dilly do, you know. Just,
All right, Brandon, it has been an hour. I think this is where I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna go get myself some breakfast. That sounds like an amazing plan because I'm starving and food sounds great. But I just want you to know that I love you very much and I really appreciate you stopping in and sharing this little bit of time with me. I'm going to do these pretty regularly. I don't know that I'll do them every week, but I think I want to do them at least twice a month for sure. And the links will be available for you.
oh, cannot wait, brother.
All right.
Well,
I'll talk to you
many
soon.
blessings, brother. Love you.
I
Love
love
you, brother.
you.
Many
Remember,
blessings.
have fun.
You as well, brother. Have fun. Your will is strong. Your will of fire.